The Stealth 2 is by far a better looking driver than the Stealth 1, but it's been out on the market for 6 months now, and after watching some of the reviews from other people like Rick Shields, Peter Finch and other golf creators, I'm still unsure what to think about this driver. But there's a test that I've seen recently, the TAYLORMADE Fargiveness test, that we're going to put the Stealth 2 through today to see actually how this thing performs. So I'm yet to hit Stealth 2, and after watching some of the reviews, I'm left a little bit uncertain. Is it forgiving? Is it not forgiving? Do we see some indifferent shots? Because what I found from Stealth, the original version, I think when that driver came out, it blew the golf market apart. We'd never seen a carbon face, and the red face, it just captured everyone's imagination and it took the market by storm. It was definitely the driver of the year last year. Now as Stealth 2 comes along, a little bit has changed. I think it's definitely, like I said a moment ago, a better looking model. There's 3 models, the Plus, the Standard and the HD. And if we look at it, the HD is more of the forgiving model. The Stealth sits in the middle. It's got a bit of forgiveness, got a bit of distance. Then we've got this one, the Plus, which still offers a bit of forgiveness, but is a little bit more for the higher club head speed and a bit more about distance. But I want to put it to the test because last time when I tried Stealth, like I said, I was a little bit uncertain with it, but I like this in terms of looks. It looks a lot better, but am I still going to see indifferent shots? We're going to put it through that Fargiveness test, which if you haven't seen it, it's Team TaylorMade, trying to hit the sides of the golf club basically, not the center of the golf club, to show that it's still forgiving and it still gets some distance of it. But before we do that, I actually just want to hit some shots out here on the golf course and down at the range, just to get an idea of what it feels like, what flights I'm seeing. I don't want any data from it. Then we're going to put it through that Fargiveness test to see actually if we see from what we see from TaylorMade actually is true. So let's hit a few shots and I'll give you my first opinion on it, and then we're getting into the Fargiveness. So I've had my initial hit of the Stealth 2 Plus driver. There are 3 models in the line. Like I said, this one is aimed at the distance and the forgiveness, hence Fargiveness, which we will be testing shortly. But for me, I was pleasantly surprised having hit Stealth last year and thought, you know, like I said earlier about the red face and it really being this big shock release from the golf manufacturing world, to see something that A had a carbon face and A was a different colour face. It was like, wow, and then actually when hitting it, it was a bit of, oh, well, that's not quite living up to its hype. I think this one, I would use one word to describe what I found from my initial testing, and that was consistency. And I'm so happy that it has been consistent because, like I say, when I hit Stealth, the original model last year, I couldn't tell actually what was good and what was bad in terms of strike. There were occasions where I thought I'd hit it really well and I saw it dive out of the sky. I thought I'd hit it pretty poor and all of a sudden you would get no spin and get an absolute rocket. There was no real consistency to what you would find. As where with this one, down at the driving range out on the golf course, it sounded good, that it was a consistent sound across the face. And then when I was striking it, I was able to tell when it wasn't a middle strike and when it was a middle strike, and also see some level of consistency in the ball flight. I've not got any data on these yet, which is where we're going to see data coming in the Fargiveness test. But it didn't look like there was a dramatic difference between a slightly toed shot and a centered shot, or a slightly heeled shot to a toed shot. The original models, to me, seemed that there was this real polar opposite end of the scale from all areas of the golf club, as where now they definitely seem to have got more consistency across the face. They have changed that 60 times carbon face. They've still got twist face in there, but the cupping that they've done with the technology definitely seems to be working a lot better throughout those different strikes there. So I was pretty pleased with it. In terms of sound and feel, on the driving range it sounded fantastic. I think that's probably more the acoustics of the range. You're in sort of like a shell of a building and it sounds a bit more thuddier and it felt better. When I got out on the golf course, the sound sort of dullened a little bit. It sounded a little bit more dull, and it didn't quite feel as good to me. That would be, for me, my only sticking point with it thus far. It wasn't ideal sounds for me. I thought from a carbon face again, it would sound, you know, almost to feel a bit more like an old persimmon and sound like a real old school wood. But for me, that's personal obviously, it wasn't quite just there. But in terms of that distance and consistency in forgiveness, I think I'm seeing it. So let's head out to the course. Let's get the fargiveness test done. I am excited to see what numbers we produce from when we're hitting it off the toe and the heel. So now it's time for the fargiveness test. If you haven't seen this, it's Team TaylorMade, basically Rory McIlroy, Fleetwood, Scheffler, etc., where they take something and they cover the sweet spot of the golf club like so. Apply a little bit of dry shampoo to the club face and it will leave a nice little red mark where that sweet spot is, just like this one. And it's to highlight that if we do hit it out of the toe and we do hit it out of the heel, bottom, top, that we're still actually going to see pretty decent golf shots. So I'm going to hit 5 golf balls. I'm going to try and hit toe. I'm going to try and hit heel. We're on the 17th. It is a generous fairway. I'm not expecting them to obviously split the centre of the fairway because I am hitting them off the centre of the club. What I do want to see is that they're somewhere near and thereabouts. If I got 2 or 3 fairways, I think that would be pretty decent. But it's that distance, you know, what I saw from last year's model, that if he got it out of the heel, all of a sudden, it was like a 230, 240 shot. Toe ones, they were really dropping. So knowing that my average carry is around that 285, 290 mark, we want to see it somewhere up there, and maybe say 20 yards would come off if you do get a toe one or a heel one. But let's see what we get when we get this fargiveness test going. Let's hit some shots. I'm excited about this. I'm intrigued because of what I said about it a minute ago, after hitting it with no data. Right, shot 1. The interesting thing here as well, obviously they're unbelievable professionals. I'm going to have to try and actually hit the non-centre, which I should just make my normal golf swing and I'll do that. I'll probably end up hitting 5 out of the centre now, but let's go a little bit heely first and see what sort of shot we get. I mean, no one's going to get a good shot from that one. I've basically missed the golf ball there. You can see half the mark of the ball there. So yeah, fargiveness isn't going to do anything there if you actually, you know, near top it. Interestingly though, 210 carry, even with that near miss. Let's maybe not get quite as heely. See, if I just try and strike out the middle, I'll miss it. That's me trying to hit the heel and I've nearly missed the golf ball. Right, let's go another heel. Heel. Foot! Oh, that felt heely. That did feel heely. Not bad, a bit more spin that we would expect to see. I've got somewhere round the heel here, part of the golf ball here. You can see some of the marks. Not a centred strike. 258 yards, so 30 yards of drop. It has found the fairway. I mean, that's not bad for a shot that, you know, half to 2/3 of the golf ball is in the heel section of the club. Let's try a toe and see what we get there. I mean, that's a pretty strong flight. Oh, and it's toey. Just bouncing into the semi. Pretty good numbers for a toe shot there. You can see where the golf ball's hit. Quite a lot of the toe has been used, and it's actually pretty decent, 270-ish. Oh, that is proper toe. That is proper toe. It's drawing. It's drawing. Just pitched on the fairway and has run out. 278, 2-1. That is what, you know, you want to see. 10 yards off there from a good strike. You can see where I've hit the golf ball, very much all of it in the toe. It's flighted. It's got out there. It's pretty good and not wildly off what I would normally see. Just hit a couple more. That is a toe rascal. That's a good flight, that. Little toe draw. Pretty much identical numbers there. Wow, let's just go. I'm just going to hit a couple more out the heel. What I'm really liking about this is sort of the consistency. It's what I would expect to see from a toe and a heel. Toe, we're going to see a little less spin, lower flight, get a bit more chase on it. Heel, we're going to see it get up a little bit more. We're going to see it get a bit more spin, maybe lose a little bit more distance, which is where from, you know, stealth 1 to stealth 2, I think that is what they've done. They've found that consistency through the technology now in the face, they've managed to actually get it performing pretty much like that titanium face. I mean, that is horrific. That is so bad. Loads of spin, 217, which is a big drop off, but come and have a look at where I've actually hit that from. You know, I've nearly missed the golf ball again, and it's actually got up there, it's flighted, which, you know, in terms, if we put this into an iron, if I've just hit that shot with an iron, I've shanked it, and it's still got up there, it's still flighted. Oh, that's heely again. Yep, heeled. Whoa. Now that's an outlier. That was a little bit heely. You can sort of see it was high heel. This is where the ball was hit. 306 yards for a 14 spin. Now that is not normal in terms of, I mean, you want to get it high on the face so it launches higher, which it has done with low spin. That's a secret little rocket. That is a secret little rocket. Very interesting test, that one. So we have done the fargivness test, and it was actually quite an interesting test, and I really enjoyed it actually. And what I must say, from the fargivness test there, one word I alluded to earlier was consistency. And I'm happy to say that I saw that when we actually went into the fargivness test. From a year on, from Stealth 1, what I will say is that when I was hitting that golf club, I wouldn't have known what was coming, spin-wise, distance-wise, flight-wise, as where now, a year further on, they've changed the club a little bit more, put a little bit more technology, a little bit more carbon into the club. It's definitely producing far more consistency across the face. From the toe strikes that we saw, the spin numbers were good. We weren't seeing dramatic drop-offs from the heel strikes. Again, the distance was pretty good, the dispersion was pretty good, and the spin rates were pretty good. I wouldn't have seen that last year because, like I said earlier, I didn't know actually what had happened when you struck some. There was some really interesting and funky shots as where consistency now, from changing the face a little bit more, working with the cup technology, adding 75% more graphite actually into the club head, they've definitely made it a far more consistent club. And I'm happy about that because when I actually got it first in hands, I thought it looked brilliant. It still looked fantastic, looked better than last year's model. But I had that little niggling feeling in the back of my mind saying, it's not going to do anything, it's just a gimmick, it's just a gimmick, it's going to see really wild results. And obviously they've done the fargivness test and they can put out what they want, but I'm so happy to see that actually from that toe and the heel, we were seeing pretty consistent numbers and nothing wildly off what we would see from a centered hit. So for me, definitely a club that you should be trying out. The Stealth 2 is far better than Stealth 1. They've worked well at actually making it a more consistent and repeatable driver, which is what we all want from the game of golf. So yeah, I'm very, very impressed by that. I think they've done a good job of actually making it that consistent driver from 1 year or first iteration to where they are now. But it'll be interesting to see if the twist face and the carbon face stay. Comment down below if you do think they will. That has been our Stealth 2 look, the fargivness test, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have as well, why not check out one of our other driver reviews here, and we'll see you in another video very soon. Sneaky, impress me.